Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting for May 25th, 2016 to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Mr. Alexandrovich?
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Larson.
Here.
Mrs. Evans.
Here.
I am here, and Mrs. Ghosh and Mrs. Witkowski are excused.
Thank you. Has the meeting been properly posted, Dr. Pitts?
Yes.
Thank you. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on the agenda is the Franklin Health Department Anti-Tobacco Awareness Awards, and we have Ms. Julianne Mansky here, who is the Health Department nurse.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Hello. So, as Janet said, my name is Juliana Mansky, and I am the city's very newest public health nurse. I have been in the position since February this year. I've learned a lot from Kathy Hahn, who's our previous nurse, who has retired. So, in my prior life, I've been in oncology for the last 7 years, and so it's really exciting to now be on the preventative side of that, which I love. So in the past, we have had a billboard contest for 20 years with 7th grade students who create artwork and then post as a billboard about spreading the truth about tobacco. And this year, we changed that up a little bit. We actually have, we did a poster contest where the artwork will be displayed at Showtime Movie Theater. So brand new and really exciting concept. So in January, Mrs. Hahn came out of retirement to give our 7th grade students a presentation about the truth on tobacco, some of the harmful effects that it could cause on the body, and then the 7th grade students were challenged to create art that would be a poster displayed at the movie theater. So of all of our 7th grade students, 244 people participated, which was really great, and of those, we had 9 winners. So I do have to say the artwork this year was great. I think we chose some really great winners, though, many of them are sitting in front of us today. So funding for this program has come from the license that tobacco companies have to pay to sell tobacco in their establishments. So it feels really good to be able to give that money back to the community, to you guys, for creating your artwork. So we had 12 community leaders that judged the artwork. One of them was Janet Evans. They had a difficult job, but they all did very well, and I think they chose well this year. All of our participants received a voucher for Cousin Subs, and the 9 winners, in addition to that, will get a copy of their poster, movie theater ticket, so you can go see your poster hung up, and a $100 Simon gift card, so you can spend that on anything you want. Really exciting. I do just want to point out that many people think that because we passed the smoke-free workplace law in Wisconsin, this will be the 6th year that it's been in place, that smoking and tobacco use isn't really an issue. But unfortunately, the tobacco industry is still targeting our youth with candy-flavored products and smokeless tobacco and e-cigarettes. So we still have a lot of work to do, and that's where your artwork comes in. So the artwork that you created is spreading a positive message and telling the truth about what tobacco can do to your body. So great job. You guys all did wonderful. And on behalf of the City of Franklin, we're very, very proud of the work that you did, and you should be proud of yourself too. So without further ado, we will have our winners come up tonight. I will give you a copy of your poster over here, and then if you would be so kindly to hold it up so everyone can see it, and then walk around so our school board can also see it, because I know they're very excited. And then once you make it around to this side, I'll take your poster, roll it up for you, and Janet will give you your certificate and shake your hand. And parents, you're welcome to take pictures anytime. So students, make sure you pause here so you can get a picture with your poster still, and then pause here again while you shake your hand. Okay?
Are there first, second, and third place winners?
All equal this year. Yep, all equal winners. So I thought you did well. All right. So So our very first winner is Sophia Decker. Sophia's poster will be displayed in September of this year. All right, and then just walk around with Dan White. I don't even know who that is.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Do you want me to help roll some?
Yeah, what?
Alright, our next winner, I don't believe I saw come in. This is Nina Campaign's poster. Her poster will be displayed in October. Very creative. This year, if that's okay. Our third winner is Becky Sarnecki. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to come as well. Very colorful. All right. Next up, we have Isaac Umeg. Come on out.
Don't vape, it's vape.
There you go.
All right, Chase. Was not able to make it as well. And then we have Laurel Wengerbauer. Is that right?
I'll roll it, yep.
This is for Michaela Gain. Alyssa Hakeman was not able to join us. And last but not least, we have Jasmine Lewandowski. Hi, right? Come back. All right. again, thank you. Congratulations to everyone. You did a fantastic job. We're so very proud of you. I also want to say thank you so much to our Franklin Public School District for partnering with us and allowing us to continue to work with the students on behalf of the Franklin Public Schools. And thank you so much to all of our very prestigious judges. I know it took a lot of time out of their day, but I think it was something pleasurable to do a little break maybe. So, all right. What questions can I answer for you about the contest or winners? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you are staying for the rest of the meeting, correct? Feel free to leave if you need to. Thank you very much. Okay. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lewis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nielsen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Item 5 is community comment. Per board policy, we allow up to 15 minutes of resident comment. Is there any community comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, consent agenda. Would any board member like to remove an item from the consent agenda? I would like to remove item D, personnel report. I'm looking for approval of consent agenda items 6A through 6C. Do I hear approval?
So moved. Or, yeah.
Yeah. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda items 6A through C, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention. The consent agenda is approved. And for item 6D, personnel report, Dr. Miller, would you like to introduce?
Yes, I am pleased to announce that we have located and would like to recommend for hire our next Director of Pupil Services. Ms. Julie Preman is here this evening. Welcome, Julie. Julie comes to us from working at CISA 1 for the last 9 years as an Assistant Director of Special Education, and she's had a lot of experience working with a lot of different school districts in the CISA 1 district, and we're really looking forward to what she has to share with us from her experiences and leading our department here in Franklin. So welcome, Julie.
It's nice to
Welcome.
meet you. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve consent agenda item 6D. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Larson, a second by Mr.
Second.
Nielsen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Welcome to the district. Thank you. Item 7, school board announcements. Do we have any announcements?
I was at the Spring Academy for the WASB, and we talked about the, sure, I can't find it now.
Was this the one at
Yeah,
Milwaukee?
last night, yeah. It was school board leadership training. There are a few things that I found interesting, a couple of quotes that they threw out there. School boards, from the Iowa Lighthouse study, they said what school boards do is they generate a culture for learning. You know, we don't do the teaching or anything like that. If you're not moving forward, you're going to fall behind. And then they also had an attorney talk about things attorneys talk about. And he talked about policies and how important it is for policies. And the one thing that he mentioned that really caught me was to look at the open enrollment policy. He says you have to look at that almost every 2 years because there's so many changes in the law there. I don't know when's the last time we looked at it.
The way that our policies are written, we have many things in the rules, and as the laws change, we are constantly changing those rules so that the policy reflects the
Oh, so
law.
the policy is nice and broad.
Well, the policy
Good.
statement is focused on what the law says we must do, but as the procedures change within open enrollment, the rules change.
Okay.
Were you there alone?
No, I was not there alone.
Who was with you?
I can't wait to find out.
Mrs. Ghosh and Mrs. Evans.
And we'll talk more about that that workshop when we do the key worker school boards.
Yeah, that's what it was about.
Yeah. Good. Any other announcements?
I just wanted to kind of wrap up the, with the musical this year. They, for the first time, threw their hat in the ring for the Tommy Awards, which is with, I think there were 77 other school districts. And they got nominated in every single category, and I want to say there were 7 or 8 winners of the Tommy Awards from our show. And the Tommy Award show is June 12th in Madison. And I mean, Pit Crew won, I think, Mrs. Schlecht and Mrs. Umhofer won. We had a leading actor, actress, Mr. Kraus won, I think, for 3 awards. I mean, we knew it was a good show, and we knew we have a great product, and we have great talent, and that really showed it. So that was something to be proud of, and I wanted to highlight it at that meeting. That was pretty neat.
That's great.
And finally, I'd just like to mention the senior awards dinner, or banquet that was last night. To see the accomplishments from those individuals, I think it was roughly 100 individuals receiving some sort of recognition last night, which was outstanding, including numerous scholarships and recognitions for one individual being admitted to the West Point Academy and some other very prestigious awards. So it was an honor to be there, and frankly to see all the accomplishments from our seniors.
Thank you. And I attended the Forest Park Middle School April Student of the Month breakfast last Friday. Why are they calling it April if it was May?
It's the month.
Yeah, it is the month ahead. 6 fine students, I'm not going to list the names like Mr. Alexandrovich did, but also there was Mr. Adams, the career tech ed teacher, and Mr. Fish. And I just have to say, Mr. Adams, for being in the district so long, I mean, he still remembers my children, and my daughter just turned 40, and he could still talk about her, and he wasn't pulling my leg. He really remembered her. So he's a great teacher. So it was a good group of parents and students. And that's all I have. Anyone else? All right. Then we'll move on to the school board calendar. We have a regular board meeting on June 22nd, 2016 here at the ECC at 6 o'clock p.m. and a regular board meeting July 13th, 2016 here at the ECC at 6 o'clock p.m. And we also have June 1st board retreat at 5:30 here at the ECC, and one on June 15th. And Dr. Pats, that's going to be at the high school, or we don't know yet?
The June 15th one?
Yeah, we're still working on that.
It's at the high school until something else changes. If we
Okay,
have-
we'll get back to you on
Yeah,
that one.
right now, plan on the high school.
5:30?
Hopefully 5:30.
Yeah, we'll keep the same time.
Yeah. And then liaison reports. Item 9A, personnel and policy, policy 6325, private school, home-based education. Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. So this update to this policy is specifically related to state law changes that allow home-based and private school students to participate in high school-based or Franklin High School-based interscholastic athletics. So the updates to that policy reflect the change in the law. I'll allow Ms. Dr. Miller to
Definitely.
add anything to that, but I think it's pretty straightforward, the changes. I think there was one subsequent change that the high school will not provide, or the district will not provide transportation, and that's per law, and that's also consistent with, remind me, just what we talked about. It was
It's
consistent with,
like open enrollment.
open enrollment, that's what it was, yeah.
Course options, things
Right.
like that. So, yes, this was enacted as part of the Wisconsin Act 55 in 2015. It does now open up our athletics and activities to our home-based private educational program students. So we have already developed the form and the process. Currently, we do not have anyone that's applied to do this, but with the change in the law, we did have to add that to this policy, which initially only addressed students who wanted to come into the district to take coursework.
So would this mean that a student attending maybe Martin Luther King High School wanted to play football for Franklin would be able to, if there's room?
Actually, you know, as I went back and researched this further, it really is just students who are homeschooled, not private school students. So that for the athletics and the activities part, it does not, the law does not specifically say private school students. It only addresses homeschooled students.
Okay.
But
We need-
for the courses, you can be in a private school and come into, but it's never occurred that I'm aware of.
So we're looking for a motion to
I have one
approve.
more question.
Yeah, I was actually.
Does our policy then reflect that delineation that you just made? Is
It includes
if you-
private schools, and one of the questions I was going to ask, because the policy states that it's open for private schools and home-based educational programs for the educational and interscholastic and extracurricular accommodations, would we ever deny someone the opportunity if they attended or have we? I don't know if we've ever been faced with that question before, right? That someone attending a different school or private school would want to participate in extracurricular activities at Franklin?
Currently, the board has not provided guidelines or rules around doing that, so we would deny.
I can tell you, we had one incident last year where before the lacrosse team became a school-sanctioned event, it was a club.
Yeah.
And there were other kids from other districts on that team, and when it became a sanctioned school activity, we denied the kids that were going to other schools to be involved in that team.
Are there WIAA regulations that would apply to that also?
This,
That someone not living within that district couldn't participate on a sport
yeah,
in that district?
WIA would not allow that.
Right, okay.
This does require that the student has to live in the district, even though they may go to a private school.
Correct.
So they have to be a district student.
They have to be in the
I mean, a
district.
district, yeah.
In
right.
Franklin, correct.
So does the policy handle the fact that we could have them participate in any classes that they might want to take, but they wouldn't be able to participate in athletics necessarily?
Right, if they're private school students.
Right, and so because I guess the title says private school and home base, but in here it would make that distinction?
In the rules, it
For
does.
the- okay.
It's clear in the rules. And the policy statement is broad enough that it talks about the accommodations in all of those areas would be provided.
Okay, just the clarification, because we said that for courses, you can be a private school or homeschooled, and then that's A. And then under B, participation in interscholastic athletics. 1A under that says pupil resides in the school district and is enrolled in a homeschool-based educational program. But B says the private school or home-based educational program in which the pupil is enrolled shall complete an application. You probably, if private schools aren't going to be included, you probably don't want that to
Right.
say the private school
Right.
in front.
I did make that change, so
Okay.
I did catch that, but thank you.
And you caught it under extracurricular activities
I
under B
did
also?
as well.
Okay.
Thank you. The document in board docs currently does not say private school.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve policy 6325, private school and home-based educational program accommodations as revised.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lewis. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Nielsen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item 10, reports and presentations. A, Human Resources Report, 2016-17 Staffing Update. Dr. Miller.
Guess you have to listen to me tonight. All right. So I have a couple of things to share with you this evening. I think we'll begin with the actual staffing report. And you have that hopefully in front of you. I also brought an additional document this evening that I think is a good reference for you as you look at that report. It is our third Friday counts, so you can see total enrollment over the last 5 years and perhaps how that relates to the FTE totals that you're seeing there. But I will not explain the staffing sheet to you, but I am certain that you may have a couple of questions. I will field them. Mr. Cohn will field some questions, and so will Mr. Reuter. So at this point, why don't we open it up for your questions regarding the staffing report or worksheet?
I'll ask the first question. Mr. Reuter, Mr. Cohen, if you can kind of explain the shift in literacy coaches and literacy interventionalists and
Sure.
how we're kind of reallocating those personnel.
Definitely. As I shared during the professional development report, I believe 2 board meetings ago, we talked about job-embedded professional development through the use of literacy coaches, math coaches, and personalized learning system specialists. As looking at our literacy program and the growth we want to see over time, we reallocated the FTE, and currently we have building-based literacy coaches. So if I'm a coach at Robinwood Elementary, I work with all teachers in the field of literacy from kindergarten through 6th grade, understanding 7 levels of curriculum, 7 levels of standards, 7 levels of assessment practice. To build consistency of opportunity for students and equity of education across the 5 elementaries, we reallocated those system specialists in literacy to work at grade level bands. So next year we will have a K-1 literacy system specialist that will work with the 13 teachers at each kindergarten and 1st grade across the district, understanding and mastering those 2 grade levels of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We'll have a grade level 2-3 that'll work across that band, a 4-5, and then a 6-8 literacy system specialist. That freed up some FTE then when we look at, we have 5 elementaries, but that will be in 1 middle school, but we only need, so that was 6 system specialists, we'll only need 5. We shifted that then to intervention, because currently in the role at K6, our literacy system specialists spend their time between intervention with kids through the RTI framework and coaching. So it's a fine balancing act of delivering intervention with kids daily based on the needs of those students, as well as trying to coach a teacher to become better at their practice and grow within their practice. This way, it's a more targeted approach where interventionists will spend their time, and the 2.5 FTE will be deployed based on data to different buildings to intervene with students at their academic need, while the literacy system specialists or coaches will work 100% of the time with teachers to grow their practice. So in turn, we have growth in student achievement around literacy. So it's not like we eliminated positions. We reallocated the definition of those positions and then the needs at grade levels versus buildings.
The inroads, it's an inroads field coordinator?
Yeah, it's actually a high school field experience coordinator. It was initially driven by the need of the roll-up of the inroad students, the junior senior experience for them. One of the program pillars was offsite placement and experiences. And so as we continue to grow our CTE program as well as that inroads program, there's an increased need for somebody to coordinate those placements and facilitate those experiences for students. So.
Any other questions? This is just a report, you don't need approval?
It's just a report, so you have an awareness as Mr. Milzer comes forward with the budget. It is based on this staffing report.
Okay, thank you.
I think the other item as part of the personnel report was to share with you some information about retention of our employees in the district. So that document was also sent to you in advance, and I have something else to share with you in addition to that I thought might be useful as well. So in looking at the data, I think what you'll notice is that this past year in particular, with our food service employees and our SOEA, which are secretaries, office assistants, and educational assistants, we've had quite a bit of transition. And again, looking at the data, what you'll see is the primary reason that people are leaving our employ is that they're looking for jobs with more hours. Most of these individuals, if not all of them, are working 4-5 hours maximum a day. There are a number of reasons for that. You know, it's often better to have 2 part-time employees because you have more flexibility, and when you're covering the needs of students, that's helpful. We also have some constraints with the Affordable Care Act with regard to how many hours an employee can work a week, so we have to keep that number in mind as well. But overall, the primary reason the hours are assigned and the number of hours, it's based on the needs of our students. But the economy, I think, improved a bit in terms of jobs, and more people went out and got other jobs this year with more hours. So one question you might have is, what does other usually entail? I did a little more digging on that, and the individuals who have we've identified as other have left working for us for medical reasons for self, medical reasons for family. One employee left because they preferred to be a sub, and one employee never showed up for work, so we categorized it as an other. So overall, I don't see any big red flags here, other than it's always really difficult to keep part-time employees. And then the last thing I want to share is the document that I provided to you is an example of what I've been doing actually the last couple of years. I've shifted away from asking people who are leaving our district why they're leaving, to talking to people who are here and trying to find out what is it that we're doing right. Why do you stay and why do you continue to work here? It's called a stay interview. So you'll see the email that I sent out to the teachers, invited them in, the new staff. You'll see some of the questions in the middle of the page that I discuss with them. And I learn things about what it is that's making them happy and what it is that might entice them to leave our district. So this is just a brief report of some of the things that I learned this year in those stay interviews. So overall, I'd say our retention of employees is very good in this district, and we'll continue to work at making sure that remains the same.
I noticed on the employee retention data that over the last 3 years, we've lost nobody due to number 5, more money.
Or six, and this year at least, no 6s for being dissatisfied, which I think is something to notice.
Well, I was going to take the negative spin on more money. How are we paying people as far as other districts? This would almost seem to indicate we're one of the finer paying places to work.
We do have a very, very good starting salary. We did, if you recall, a very thorough market study of our positions in the district, including our hourly positions, and we got them to the market. And we're a fair employer in terms of wages, so.
So does that indicate that other districts aren't paying the market rate? And then how do you determine the market rate if nobody else is paying what we're paying?
Well, when we went to market, you look at other school districts, but you look also in the private sector, so it included a lot of information. But districts pay what they can afford to pay. So I would say in some districts where they're not paying as well, it's because they can't afford to do it, not because they don't appreciate their employees and want to pay to market, they just can't.
Okay.
So I actually did some research on this too, because I was interested, and I believe it was a 2013, 2014 study. It might be 2014, 2015. But it was published in JS Online, and it ranked, of all the school districts in southeastern Wisconsin, the average starting teacher salary. And I believe we ranked in the top 5 in southeastern Wisconsin. And we weren't, we might have been 5 out of all the districts. But I thought it was interesting to tie into the discussion that we had previously, either last board meeting or 2 meetings ago, where we discussed the salary range and how the tiers had been a structure in the past. In reference to some of the other districts that we ranked against, it wasn't the typical districts that you would have thought that we were behind. It wasn't the Elmbrooks, it wasn't the Arrowheads. It was the districts that were struggling to keep or retain quality teachers. The McGuanagos, some of the far western suburbs. So it was an interesting aspect that, we are paying our teachers fairly well, but I think at least the data is now showing that we're starting to see the benefits, that now teachers are believing that they're adequately compensated and not leaving because they feel that they're underpaid or dissatisfied with their roles. So I think that those two things are mutually beneficial in terms of understanding why someone's leaving the district. And if I can find it again, I can send it to you, Alan, if you'd like to see that.
Well, other studies that I've read, the number one reason for leaving a job is your supervisor. And money is usually 5 to 7, somewhere in there. So it's not surprising that nobody's leaving for more. No, it is surprising that nobody's leaving for more money, but I would have expected it to be relatively low. But we don't have a resignation reason like my supervisor's a jerk,
I guess that would fall under dissatisfied, but, with this number of employees leaving, we know why they're leaving. We don't have large numbers of employees leaving, so we know, and we would know if someone was dissatisfied with their supervisor, so. But you're absolutely right, it's about the environment you create that the people work in that is extremely important to their retention here.
Right.
Jim, when you put together some of your projections for like post-employment benefits and things like that, and retirees, these percentages are falling pretty close to where you were hoping they'd be?
As far as how many people are leaving per year, that kind of thing? Yeah, right. This is right in line. We had that one year, maybe 2, that were higher than normal when there was a lot of unknowns for teachers especially. And since then, it's come back down to the norm.
2 to 3%, somewhere in there.
Right.
I think Dr. Patz has made it a priority. That climate has been very important in our district, and I think that's a major factor. And the employees have reported they've noticed that. So retention's really important, I think, to this board, isn't it? So
There's so much you can dissect out of all these things because there may be people who would like to leave but can't leave because, we have people that apply, but they don't get offered jobs at other places. And, maybe it's a spousal issue, so if you really dig deep, I'm sure we could find a widespread, and that's like all the rankings that go, no matter where you rank, sometimes you could be at 2 versus 15, but the difference between 2 and 15 isn't that significant, it's just a number. And so, you have a lot of factors to take into consideration, I think. But I think this board and I hope administration have made this a good place to work for people. We have pretty high expectations of people, and we have some people that get disgruntled occasionally. But I think that's mainly because we hold them to a standard, and I think that's important.
any other comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. 10B is the superintendent's report. We have the board retreat, graduation, and community survey update. Dr. Patz.
Yeah, the board retreat will be June 1st at 5:30, and we'll be starting off with Barry Forbes from WASB coming in to talk about key work of school boards, which I think will fit nicely into next year, and we'll get into that just a little bit later. Barry is, if you've ever heard him, did you hear him by any chance?
We had him last night,
Yeah.
Okay.
but he's only going to talk about policy.
Right. Yeah, he's just coming in to talk about policy, and it'll be an overview Q&A. I think you'll enjoy it. Barry's an engaging type of presenter, so I think you'll enjoy that. As far as graduation, just
Can I stop on board retreat? I did email everyone last night about another aspect of board retreat, and that is, there was an interest in a field trip for the board and administration. And I do have one set up for a tour of the quarry. Would we be interested in a tour of the quarry together?
I've never been in there.
I have been on one. It's a really nice tour. Dr. Pats, I think you said you were on it also.
I'd go.
He's going to be pretty accommodating to us. I said the earliest we could be there is 5:30 if it's on a weeknight. And they're done with some of the operations at that time, most of them, but it's still going to be interesting. Also, if we didn't want to do it on a weeknight, he would be willing to do it on a Saturday morning. They are open on a Saturday morning also. So what he said was we need to give him some dates, and he will work around it. You just need to wear shoes that might get dusty because you are in a cart sometimes, but you do get out and walk around a little bit. So if we're interested, that's why I asked you to bring your calendars. What I'm looking for is dates that you can't go either June or July, and we can, if I can get an idea to tell him, unless you want to all email me within the next couple days. I know it's hard to get us all together. I want to try to get all of us if we can, but I really don't want to leave anyone out, unless you really don't want to go, but it is interesting.
I'm less enthusiastic about Saturdays.
Okay, so he said weeknights are fine, and that would include you too.
What was the name of the place we went to where they made the food?
That was Baptista's Bakery. And the quarry, he
You don't
does,
have to wear a hairnet this time.
no hairnet, no hard hat. And this does include the asphalt plant also. And he does want to impress upon people that he knows might not want to hear it, but you don't always have to go to college. There's some great paying jobs there for people that don't want to go to college. So, and it's true, there are great paying jobs there. So, if we're interested, if you can't tell me tonight, it's imperative that I know soon dates you cannot go, so that I could try to work it out. So, if weeknights are what we want to look at, 5:30 we want to try for 5:30. So, are we looking at letting me know?
I think that'd be better.
Okay.
You might want to throw
At the end of
out
the
some
week.
dates too, just to spark discussion, but I think it's going to be kind of tough to show dates that we're not available.
Well, I mean, some people might know, hey, I'm on vacation this week. I definitely can't go this week. Or I definitely have a basketball game I have to do this night. And we know our retreat nights already that we can't go. But like I said, it's a very interesting tour. So I will send out a reminder tonight just to let me know ASAP. And it's worth doing it. So, thank you, Dr. Pat.
Okay, the other half of the board retreat will be our directors presenting an overview of their positions. They're preparing that, and we'll do an outstanding job, so you'll be right on the edge of your seats, and you might be excited about that, so.
Can I ask, do we have our gowns? Have you heard yet from Sue Bolus?
That was coming up.
Oh,
Pardon me? Go ahead.
I haven't heard anything.
No, and I asked her today in the chaos, she said no, but I don't know if she's answering me to that question or 10 others. But we'll double check on that and get that to you this week. The reminder is at 2 o'clock, parking is generally difficult, So if you want to get a spot reasonably close, you might want to get there early. Quite honestly, it's easy if you sneak all the way in and park right next to the west side of the building. If you get there early enough and look official, you can back in there, and there's usually a horse there or a barricade of some kind, but you can usually drive around it or get out and move it. You'll see a school truck there, and
I thought he meant a real horse.
so anyway, let's be ready to go for that.
Can we have a fan on this time,
Sure.
please? What did you say?
Get one of those big
Fan.
airplane fans that's,
I mean, there's
it was
always a
warm up
fan,
there.
but last year there was no fan.
yeah,
Dry ice.
okay.
Keep it cool in there.
Dry ice and strobe lights.
Regarding the community survey, I know many of you are aware of that, and there's been lots of comments. We've gotten, the first day, we received over 500 back.
Oh, wow.
Don't know any details as far as what they said at this point. It's important to remember, if you do get questions about that, this survey is not about detail. This survey is about sixth grade moving to the middle school in its entirety for any of the options, as well as creating programming space and so on, and as well as creating elementary space in terms of growth. I know there are a few people that made comments like, well, I want to see details of the rooms, and this, we're not at that stage at all yet. It's just simply a capacity issue, so we'll, when we get the survey and start generating more information, I think that'll become more and more clear. Let's see. Wanted to bring you just up to speed on what took place today, so you have an accurate portrayal. I think most of you know. About 9:30, 9:40, one of the secretaries of the high school got a robo bomb scare. What that is it's a recording. It's a person talking, and there are different ones. We were notified that Nina had one that had a person of dialect talking. Ours was just a person just saying there's a bomb in the building, you need to evacuate soon. In those particular instances, within 2 minutes of that call, we began evacuating the building. And that 2 minutes was actually just because of us transferring people being in the know. They were evacuated, kids were outstanding, the staff was outstanding of getting kids out of there and away from the building. Instantly, the police and the fire department, who I would really like to commend for the work they did, they came in, make sure, number one, the building was evacuated, and then we went in and started doing a scan of the building, checked all the rooms, everything that might have a receptacle of some kind, and looked through everything. And then we did not allow anybody to enter the building until we were comfortable that it was safe to go back in there. And that was about 10:48 or 11:40, something like that. So a couple hours. During that time, the kids were great. We tried to keep in communication with parents. We let them know immediately. That was the first thing that went out. I think we gave 2 updates throughout, and we tried to beat the kids to the punch, and we did on a couple of cases. Matter of fact, when they were ready to go back in, before we told anybody, we got the email out that the kids are entering the building, so the kids couldn't say they knew first. We had to get one up on them some way. But procedurally, I'm very pleased. I learned a lot just talking with, the command posts and things that we can do differently as far as where we need people and little tidbits. I also learned a lot about the police department really has their act together as far as what's going on in that area when all this took place. They were telling me things that I never knew and won't share with you, not on a microphone anyway. But so people better not try to pull too much because it's well secured in a lot of ways, so which is a good thing. So I don't know if you have any questions about it or any comments you may have heard. We think it.
I just like to commend the communication. It was phone call, email, as a parent now, phone call, email, and then an email that had a link to listen to the voicemail. So that got out there, and then the follow-up one, absolutely.
Good.
Kids were staying occupied. They did the wave before they went back in. I don't know if anyone got that report. So they were sitting on both sides of the stadium, so
Yeah,
they made the most of it.
it's one of those things, as you're all probably aware, this is going on throughout the country. I think there were 4 or 6 of them in Wisconsin today, but there were several throughout the United States that I'm aware of, and it's going to take place. When we heard about it last week starting to take place, it's sometimes just a matter of time, and our number was up, I guess, somehow. I don't know how they're generated or from where, but there is an investigation that's continuing with the police department and the FBI, so that'll be more information that may follow later on. That's all.
Thank you, Megan, for your updates.
I have a question. Did the police say that moving all the kids to the football field is the appropriate approach to take? Because several parents were saying, there's a bomb threat going on. Why are you putting all these kids in another location where they all are? Why aren't you moving them off-site or someplace else? I mean, is that the appropriate place to go?
Yes.
Okay.
because number one, it's immediate. We have secure over who those kids are and where they're at. To get them to another location means we would have to have busing. People would be jumping, it would be chaos to try to get them somewhere else. Now, could that potentially be something we have to do as far as like getting them to the sports complex? Yes. But in that case, we would have buses. Immediately, we had our bus drivers contacted, and they were reporting to, I think the bus garage, Jim, is that the right way to term it? And they were on hold.
Oh, the bus drivers were?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we just, we were just sort of gauging things as far as how it went. But I saw those comments too. It's the best place. And I know somebody could say, well, if they all go there, everybody knows where they're going to be. Well, you can have a plan in place that no matter what, somebody can find a way around that plan.
Right.
In this particular instance, and the way these things are evolving, it's the most immediate place. The kids know where to go. We can keep track of the kids. There's no chaos. They all went right down there. And it is far enough away from the building, because that's a pretty good distance, right, from the end of that building to, it's a couple hundred yards. So, could there be a better place? Absolutely. And will we always look at everything? Yes. And we do have an alternate plan if we have to move them off-site, but it involves then the coordination of the busing and all those kind of things.
Did the dogs clear that,
Dogs were involved.
stadium site? Okay, did the police clear that site?
The police were on that site immediately and secured that site in total, so it was, like I said, the police department really did a nice job, and the fire department as well.
Thanks for addressing that.
All right, thank you. Item 11, the board meeting debriefing. Are there any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say that Judy's report on talking to the people who are here and why they're here and why they're happy being here, I think that's just a great idea. That's being really proactive.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 12, future agenda items. The 2016-17 budget first draft presentation is on June 22nd. Are there any other agenda items right now?
We'll have probably a survey update at that time too, I'm guessing.
Okay. Thank you. Then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nielsen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Larson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 6:51.